On today's Rushmore Show, let's get ready to
take a bass line for a walk.
And let's not forget to
slap a dot bass.
Because today on the Rushmore Show, it's all about that bass. Let's get it!
Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Hey, man, we got a great episode planned out for you. We're on week 3 of Music March. Andy, man, it's been a blast so far. We've gone through our vocalists, which got just some really cool reviews. Guitarists, man, there were some surprises in there. And now today, what are we bringing to them?
We're going to talk about bassists today. Probably some of the most underrated, in some cases, underappreciated components of a band. But I'm just going to go out on a limb today, and it's not much of a limb, but tell you that bands don't exist if it isn't for this rhythm section. So for these next 2 episodes today,
it's all about the bass.
But for this week, where we're talking about bassists, and for next week when we're going to talk about drummers, these are probably the 2 weeks that I'm most excited about. So, so excited to get into it today. And look, just like we've been doing for some of our episodes, we decided to bring in a special guest today. So today we are going to welcome in good friend Ashley Quirk. Welcome to the Rushmore Show, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you.
What's up, Ashley?
So appreciate you.
Nice
Good seeing you, man.
You too.
Hey, so Ashley, will you do us a favor? Tell us how you got started with music, why the influences that you've had, and like, why would we have you on a bassist show?
Well, I play bass at church, every week. And I got started in music when I was 12 years old. It was kind of like the whole Curtis Loew story with Leonard Skinner. They had a guy that played guitar, and it was basically, he drank a little bit, and it was, if you listen to the story, Curtis Loew, it was basically that, and picked up a few chords from him and learned from there. And then after that went on, and then I was in church one day, and there was a really good bass player in there. I was 15 years old, and I've never heard a bass being played like that before. And I was like, wow, this is awesome here. So I kind of, struck the interest of bass, and then started playing. And then,
so how many years have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing, I'm 44 now. I started playing guitar when I was 12, and then I started playing, bass when I was 15. So
did you play any other instruments?
I played drums in high school. So I played guitar, and then I was, in a jazz band and took.
So you're like lessons. A one-man band.
Yeah, we can do it all.
How are you on vocals, Ashley?
Vocal, maybe a backup singer, but that's about it.
That's what he has his daughters for. That's what that's for.
That's awesome. Hey, Ashley, so excited that you're on the show today. And obviously, we play together every now and then with worship. Yeah. And so I was like, man, what a great way to have this, just bring in a bassist close to home here. And hey, look, without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into our Rushmore of bassists. All right, Kirk, let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about our Rushmore of bassists. But before you give us your Rosie, what's your criteria? How did you eliminate people? How did you pick your 4 bassists for your Rushmore?
Yeah, so again, Music March. This is not necessarily my world. I love music, a lot of influences with music. I have a vast array of like taste, and when it comes to music, and I always am enamored by the bass, right? Whether it's the drums or whether it's just a bassist period, like any kind of just that bringing in that deeper sound. And when it comes to actually having a Rushmore of this, I really had to think out of the box. I mean, there were a couple that I really thought of, and I really like the idea of the slap bass. So that just like really, that heavy jam, and I really dig all that. It's, of course, as usual, I'm gonna live between probably 1970 and 1999. That's my taste of music, rock. That's probably my go-to when it comes to this area. And so right off the bat, last but not least, it's always about my favorite. So these are bands of people I'm going to listen to. So right off the bat, it shouldn't be a shocker. This band member has their band has been on already 2 of my Rushmores. We had an intro of best intros, and I think most of that intro was him and the guitarist, and then we also had the guitarist on my guitar show. So we're gonna go right off the bat. Rosie, number 4, Tim Commerford from Rage Against the Machine.
Nice pick.
So
nice pick.
I literally I can't speak more about this band. It's got roots from when I grew up, and there are so many different times where actually I get a little confused with this band sometimes, because sometimes I think it's actually Morello and it's Commerford. Sometimes I think Sam. Because they are so different than everybody else. They, again, just like Morello, he makes the bass talk. And some of those intros, I was actually telling you about this. I was watching 20 greatest bass intros. He was the only one on there twice. So
wow.
He is definitely number 4. My Rosie. I would move him up the ladder a little bit more, but the other 3 I think are some more what I would consider they have more influence to even probably Tim. So I'm going to go number 4, my Rosie, Tim Commerford.
Awesome. Wow, that's a great pick. That is awesome.
Yeah. So Andy, now that it's your turn, who is your Rosie?
Yeah. So my criteria very similar to most of my music picks from this month, and it'll continue to be that way. Number 1, I've got to want to listen to the band, right? Yeah. You know, I mean, there are bassists out there that, you know, obviously, you know, technically probably could make it higher in the list, but for a lot of them, it's just like I don't listen to them that often, right? And it's not that I don't appreciate their skills or anything, but it's got to be a little closer to me. So really, that's kind of my only criteria. And then past that, it's just things that's like I can think of songs that stick out in my head, bass lines that stick out in my head, little runs and different things that these musicians play, right? So right off the bat, my number 4, my Rosie, and probably my shocker to anybody. Well, let me rephrase this. It's a shocker from a bassist standpoint, but for those that know me, this is not a shocker that this guy made my list. I have a tattoo of this guy's face on my body, and I'm gonna go number 4 right off the bat, Gene Simmons. And look, here's the thing. There's going to be bassists out there or musicians out there like, why is this dude on your list? Kiss, not known for their just musical talent, although they are talented and they could put together some good songs, but they're certainly not known as these just masterminds when it comes to writing songs. However, I feel like with Gene Simmons, you kind of get the whole package, right? You get the showmanship for an instrument that, like I said at the top of the show, is kind of underappreciated. Sometimes, you know, the bassist can just kind of be sitting in the background and really nothing's happening. To be the focal point, right, of the band. I mean, Gene Simmons is like the face of the band. How often do you see that with the bassist being like one of the main guys? Obviously, Paul Stanley also, but Gene Simmons, some of his bass lines too that he does, man, just kind of go underappreciated again. And I think some of it is that their show is so way up there and over the top that you kind of overshadows maybe some of their music ability. But I love Gene Simmons, man. Obviously, like I said, I got him tattooed on my body, so it's as
a Buddha.
Yeah, as a Buddha. There's a whole story, not much of a story behind that tattoo, but look,
you know, hey, let me pause real quick. I knew that somewhere in this month you were going to find a way to get Kiss in there, and I have been waiting. And you even said, "Hey, none of your guys from your favorite band is on there," and I was sitting there thinking, "Well, neither is none of your guys." So you beat me to it.
Let me tell you this. This is a little just kind of background of how I got into Kiss. Funny story. You would not think this. The first time I ever heard Kiss, saw Kiss, was 1997 MTV Unplugged. And I was like, wow, they're really good. I like this band. And my dad,
is that another Unplugged Rushmore?
And
we talked about 3 others.
We did. My dad was like, oh wait, because if you've seen the Unplugged, they don't have the makeup on. It's not the whole big show and everything. They're just kind of sitting there, just it's like coffee shop kind of feel. He brought me. We at the time I'm listening to cassette tapes. Okay, so the first one I remember ever getting right was Kiss Destroyer and that album art, and I'm like, who are these guys? What are these superheroes and stuff? And then I kind of got into the whole thing, and the one that immediately drew me to him was Gene Simmons, the whole, demon face paint and just the whole show, spitting fire, blood, all the craziness that happened with it. And again, I'm like, I don't know, like 9, 10 years old, something like that at the time. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I just, obviously from there, I learned every song of theirs. It was the main draw to getting me into music. And I know this is a bassist show, and I really haven't talked much about his bass skills and what he plays, but
but it's your favorite, so that absolutely counts. So that's a great pick, and I am actually glad you did that. So, hey, Ashley, so number 4 is called Rosie. Rosie, man, Roosevelt. So we kind of think he's probably the fourth of the guys on the mountain there.
Yeah.
Who would be your Rosie for your list?
Well, I'm all about bass lines too, but I'm more all about sound, the sound that comes out of the bass. I really love the sound, and so you'll probably hear that on all 4 of mine that I picked with sound. And the guy that, I've been listening to forever would probably be Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. I love the sound. I love that flanger sound that he has coming through that guitar, and he's probably my Rosie. That would be my Rosie there. He was, growing up playing guitar, and hearing, that kind of stuff. And I mean, the whole band's really good, but just you can distinctly pick out that bass, when you hear those songs. And so that would probably be my Rosie there. So
yeah, so Guns N' Roses is had a couple spots on our show over the last few weeks, and and that's a great pick.
That's a solid pick, because for a band, I feel like with Guns N' Roses, that is so obviously people are drawn to Axl Rose, to Slash, and those are, I mean, and perfectly we understand why that they would be that. They're amazing in their own respect. Yeah. But for even with all of that to happen, for that bass to come through like it does in all of their songs, you're like, you may not know who he is, but you're like, there's something there. And like you said, the sound is huge.
Well, that's a great first pick. So we're going to jump in
to TJ Jazzy Jeff. Here we go.
Isn't that so much fun to say, TJ Jazzy Jeff? So TJ Jazzy Jeff, Thomas Jefferson, he is number 3. And so let's jump into that. My TJ Jazzy Jeff is going to be John Entwistle from The Who. And I know my friend Andy is not necessarily a fan of The Who, and it's a running joke going on this Music March. But going from what is it? Pinball Wizard, My Generation, the Baba O'Reilly song. I mean, he has just this. What is crazy when I watch him play, it's almost as if he's not having fun. Like, he's so stoic. He's just sitting there just like you're in a major rock band, dude. And but yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about Keith Moon or other members, but I think he actually makes the band. And I've said this a couple times when The Who comes up, is I think kind of like Queen got revised with some of like Wayne's World and some of that other stuff. I think CSI putting that as their intro to man, it kind of brought them back, and then they were on the Super Bowl. But they just have an iconic sound, and that's our favorite word when it comes to musicians and great people. They just do. And John, I think, is the key to that whole band. And he's going to be my number 3. He deserves a little spot on the mountain, and so I'm going to go with John Entwistle for my TJ Jazzy Jeff.
Good pick.
And so we're going to jump to you, Andy. Come on, man.
I'm not a big fan of The Who, and that's, it's okay. But it's okay. It's fine. Running joke. Anyway, this is kind of an inside joke. I'm just not a big Who fan. But anyway, it's cool. They did play the Super Bowl the year that the Saints won the Super Bowl, so I'll give them that. But anyway, let's move to my number 3, TJ Jazzy Jeff. Again, influence behind my music style and the things that I like. But I go for my number 3, my TJ Jazzy Jeff is Justin Chancellor from the band Tool. His bass lines are that band is so bass forward and heavy. Maybe I'm foreshadowing to next week when I talk about drummers, but he's a fantastic drummer as well. But that band, man, I remember in like junior high school time, I don't know what grade I was in. I was somewhere around there. Maybe it had to be before then. Whatever time it was. In my adolescence, I remember hearing those bass lines from like 46 and 2, from Schism, from all of these songs, and being like, I've got to try to learn that. And I remember I learned the bass line. I think it was from Schism, 46
Dude,
and
that's
2.
the best one.
It was both of those. I learned both of those, and I was like, bro, I'm on top of the world. I don't have to play this instrument no more. I learned those 2 bass lines, and man, but he's so solid. He's I love all of his playing, and then those effects and everything. That band is not very. It's kind of a polarizing band. I never really find anybody who's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, they're okay. It's either they're really big fans of Tool, or they're like, no, I don't like them at all. Right? So it's you're on one side of the fence or the other with them. They're even
if you don't like him, you cannot deny the types of sound, like
absolutely
the talent.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's another band. And again, this is, I guess, my running kind of criteria for all the things is that you said it, our favorite word, it's iconic. It's a signature sound. Ashley, you mentioned it too, just that sound. When you hear that bass line, if it was just an isolated track of just the bass line, that it's from Tool, right? Mm-hmm. We talk about any of our bassists that we talk about, that it's from whatever band they're from. And gosh, I just love their stuff so much. And sometimes it's those things where it's like, I don't understand how you write those things, right? It's one thing to just like play along. A lot of bassists I find like play along and just kind of fill the spot. But for a bassist to be a main component of a song and to know that they had a process in writing all of that, man, it's awesome. And it automatically kind of bumps it up there on my list. So again, my number 3, Justin Chancellor from Tool, is my TJ Jazzy Jeff for my Rushmore.
Great pick, man. Yeah. I really am digging that one. So next to you, Ashley.
My number 3. This is a guy here y'all probably, I don't know if y'all listen to or not. He's definitely in the back. He's overshadowed by the singer and everything else. I would have to go with Tully Kennedy from Jason Aldean.
Oh,
nice.
I know it's something different, but if you just ride down the road and hear what this guy does, it's phenomenal. I mean, really phenomenal. His bass lines and some of those songs are really good, and
I think that's
his whole band is good, so.
Oh, no. You had a country in the vocalist, didn't you there?
Okay. When we did vocalist, I had Stapleton on my vocalist.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm so glad that you brought up a country artist too, because when we think of country artists, many of us, like when you said the guy's name, I had no idea who it was. Yeah. Right. But those good acts have to have the supporting band behind them that just drives it home. Right. We always, obviously, most of the bands are called Jason Aldean, right? Yeah. Whatever his band is, or Chris Stapleton and whatever his band is, or, you don't think about those other parts, but it plays such a huge part.
Yeah.
And, wow, that was good. I did unexpected, but I really like that. I'm gonna have to actually go check out some more. Honestly, I'm just being honest. I don't listen to it as much, but I definitely appreciate good musicians. So check them out.
Check them out.
Now, I love country. Kirk,
can I say this real quick? Kirk, you look a little bit like a country star right now with the plaid and the cap that you're rocking. Like you look like you either run a barbecue restaurant or you're singing country on the side or something. So,
well, it's funny. This hat is actually a guy that does pizza ovens. So, but what I was going to say is, country for me, I love country. I love good country music. It's great. It's great music to drive to. I just don't ever know who's singing. Yeah. I'll turn on country music and I don't know the bands and stuff unless it's like Garth Brooks or somebody I actually bought a CD or something back in the day. And that tells you how old I am, bought a CD. But I mean, I like new country. I can't tell you. I don't know anybody. I know the songs. When you play it, I'm like, oh yeah, I love that song. Whether I heard it on a commercial or the radio or whatever. So that's good. I love bringing in the new style. So hey, we're halfway.
Halfway there.
Halfway there, man.
Living on a prayer. Who you got for your link, Kirk?
Whoa.
To our link.
All right. So Link, man, I talked about it earlier. I love slap bass. And I'm going to just go ahead and say I think these next two are probably two of the greatest slap bass ever that I've ever seen. And my number three, kind of a weird band, and he's weird too. I mean, like, he's just weird, man. But I'm going to go with Les Claypool from Primus.
Wow, so, good one.
Man, I listen, Primus is like one of this, like it's a taste that you can only get it so much, and you're like, I'm done with this. But I could take all of their singing and all of the other instruments out and just listen to him play, because he does these things that I'm like, I don't even know how that's possible. And you're making it. I mean, he like plays all together with his hands like this, and I'm like, how are your fingers moving so fast? Like, he's got the whole hat and little goatee deal. He just looks like he doesn't belong in a rock band. He looks like he should be like, I don't know, a detective or something. I don't know. He's weird. But anyways, Les Claypool is just a really cool sound, really cool vibe. I dig Primus. Jerry's a race car driver, and some of those songs we can't talk on here. I mean, like, just, oh my gosh, I was like, what were y'all thinking when you wrote this? And they're kind of like a funny shtick type thing, like kind of slap, that thing, but not slap bass, yeah. So, but I really love his sound. I really wish I could have seen him more in maybe some other headlining bands, but that wasn't his deal. And, get into some of these guys that made some big concert tours and stuff like that. But he really was kind of his own deal. And then the Primus thing. So anyways, Les Claypool is going to be my link and my number two. So.
Wow, that's good. What's really impressive about Les Claypool too is that not only is he a phenomenal bassist and does all that, but he sings at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, how do you?
But he sings real weird.
I'm not saying he's the greatest vocalist, but look, to read a cue card in front of you while you're doing what you're doing would be impressive. I don't get how he does all of those things. And it's one of those bands where you kind of mentioned it too. It's like, I don't know if I'm laughing at the song or if I'm really getting into it. Because if you take the vocals out of it, you're like, this is so impressive. And then they start singing about God knows what. I mean, just random. There is nobody who sounds like that at all. So if we're talking sound,
Tommy the Cat, I think, is probably his best bass line.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool if y'all are looking for something to listen to.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
All right, man. So link. So, Andy, who's your link?
Talk about another weird guy. I'm going to give you a weird guy here. This is my first one. Well, actually, technically, just Gene Simmons is a stage name. So, but this is my first one that actually has like a stage name. His real name, I had to look it up today because I wasn't sure what it was, is Michael Peter Balzery is his name, which I guess this is why he changed his name. Better known as Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I don't know if you picked a better name.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe he just doesn't know how to pick names. But here's the thing. Flea is one of those, and again, if our running theme here is kind of just signature sound, when it's Flea, like the slap bass and everything. Yeah. But what I also take from his stuff as well is that much like Gene Simmons and kind of my criteria for that pick is that he's such a showman. Man, when you watch live videos or you see him live or even just his music videos or whatever, there's a whole character to Flea, right? Rocking whatever, like just dancing all crazy around.
You always see the still picture of him like jumped up in the air playing the bass. It's like the bass guy's supposed to be kind of like in the background, right? He's like everywhere. Yeah, for somebody to carry, because what the bass really does is it's that backbone. It's carrying kind of the low end, right, of everything in it. If you're just watching TV and your bass is not all there, you're like, there's something wrong, right? Yeah. So even in a band, for somebody to the primary reason is that backing of that, but then to take it to the next level, he still carries the song, but in kind of a lead way too. So it's interesting. And man, Flea is so good. It's I just think of all those songs that they play. Californication, when he plays it and he does all these little, like, I don't know all the technical terms for it, but he does all of these things that you're like, he's playing that thing like an acoustic guitar. Yeah. Like it's so crazy. So Flea, or whatever his other name was, but we're just going to call him Flea. Michael Balzery.
Michael Peter Balzery. I think he's Australian too. So When I googled him today, I don't know if he's originally from Australia, but man, a character, a phenomenal bassist. My link is Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Dude, that is a phenomenal pick. Phenomenal pick.
All right,
Ashley, man.
So let's move to
Ashley. So we're here to you. This is Lincoln, man. Link.
Yeah, Lincoln. My number 2, Lincoln. You know, musically, he's above none, especially with his drummer. I would have to say Geddy Lee. It was probably
Let's go.
My number 2. It is. He's musically it's phenomenal. I go back with sound too, but he's all over the place, So I really love it.
Geddy Lee is a great choice. Look, when I heard that you were going to be on the show,
yeah,
I said, Andy, I'm curious to know what Ashley's picks are going to be. What you think? And he goes, well, I absolutely know at least one person, Geddy Lee, is going to be on this list.
Yeah, that's going to be Geddy Lee.
I was like, sweet. So I know where we're going.
When we play on worship together, and like bass and drums always have this thing, like vocals always have to do their warm-ups, and guitars always tune in. They're doing all their keys and everything. Bass and drums are usually ready to go. Like there's not a lot to prepare for, but I'll always do like the ding 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 for YYZ, and then Ashley's up there here. That's
like ready, set, go.
Yeah, you just know that. Or what's the other one? Come Together. We always play. That's not Geddy Lee.
Come Together.
I joked a lot about this part. Was that in the beginning I tried to have Andy make Tom Sawyer our intro music.
Oh yeah,
because Rushmore, and I was like, and copyrights and everything else, we couldn't do it. But man, Rush is a great band, and the Geddy Lee is a phenomenal choice.
Yes,
love it. All right, so that means we've all given our Rosie. We've talked about our TJ Jazzy Jeff. We've done Lincoln. That only leads us. Where are we at? What's the top of our mountain? What's our George Kirk? Give us your George of bassists.
Well, I'll just say this. Geddy Lee did not make my top list. He is probably my Benjamin, which is number 5. He's my honorable mention. But I'm going to jump in, and it's going to be our very first
Rushmore.
Yeah, a little Rushmore time. And I am going with another slap bass. Just I love him, Flea. So
come on.
The funny thing is, when you said you looked up his name, so did I, and I was like, oh yeah, that's funny, because I was like, what is this guy's real name? But Flea, he's such an entertainer. Red Hot Chili Peppers is probably really close to that era of time on my Rushmore of favorite bands. They're really close. They're in the conversation, and I just really think Flea does it. He's a showman up there. Yeah, I don't know that he owns any shirts. Apparently they call him Flea because
he owns a sock.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. He's just a small guy, but he's powerful. He's got a big sound, and I was actually learning last night. I was trying to learn some of those technical things. But apparently, because he holds his bass so low, he doesn't go up and down. He just goes one direction. So because he gets caught in between, and I was like, I don't even know what that means. So I guess there's some bassists that play up and down at the same time. Ashley, he doesn't. So
he does a lot of slapping and popping.
Yeah, and so the guy that was talking was like, I don't know how he makes some of these sounds that he does, not being able to do that portion.
Yeah.
And so just kind of even elevated him to another list for me. But Higher Ground, Give It Away. You had already said Californication, Aeroplane. There are some really good intro bass lines, and he sets the tone. And honestly, Anthony Kiedis was cool. The other members were cool. But whenever you talked about Red Hot Chili Peppers, you're talking about the bassist, and he wasn't even the front man. He literally wasn't like Kiss. Yeah, we're going to talk about Gene, right? Because he was literally the front man, right? When you thought of Red Hot Chili Peppers, almost right off the bat, you're thinking of Flea. And that goes to show just how crazy it is to me. But yeah, my George of bassist, finishing out my mountain, is Flea. So, man, let's finish this thing out. Andy, who is your number one, your G-dub?
So my number one, we're going to keep this trend going with another Crushmore. So our Crushmore today is my number one, Geddy Lee from Rush.
Yeah,
man,
good
there's so
choice.
many things that obvious reasons, right? If you Google top bassist, I mean, he's hands down, he's making the list. You know, maybe not one, but he's definitely up there. He's going to be one of those top guys. Man, it just so I know maybe I'm bending the rules a little bit here, but it's okay because we make the rules. We're talking about bassists, but for a bassist to be able to do what he does, sing all the songs for Rush, then every now and then flip it around and take the keys out and do all the synth and everything that he does, it's insane. I mean, I just don't understand how he does it. And Rush as a whole, the band, the sounds that they make and the songs that they put together with 3 people is just, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, so he's
the very first time I ever heard Rush, I thought this thing was like a huge, like big band thing. And when I saw that was 3 people, I'm like, where are all these things coming from? Where are all these sounds at?
Yeah, and Geddy Lee is a huge part of that. You know, when you think of Rush, and again, I'll probably foreshadow a little bit to next week. You think about drummers, you think of Neil Peart, but Geddy Lee is. And here's another thing too. I mean, I said Gene Simmons today, but for bassists to be the singer doesn't always happen. I mean, you don't see that as often, right? And any, you know, nowadays or really at any point, you know, obviously Gene Simmons did some vocals too with Kiss, but you just don't see that happen that often, to be the main guy there. This crazy little Canadian looking crazy guy. I got to see them a couple years ago when they came to New Orleans. It was one of the greatest shows that I've ever been to.
Yeah, that's
the whole production, the dryers behind them and the movie crew that comes and moves things, and man, it's insane. So, but I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but going back to Geddy Lee, there's lines in those songs that on the bass and different things like that. Listen, do yourself a favor. If you're watching today and you have never listened to YYZ, go listen to that. And again, 3 musicians, keep that in mind. Listen to some of the bass lines now that we're talking about Geddy Lee, where he does just these runs that you're like,
he's doing runs with the drummer.
Exactly. So him and Neil Peart together, it's probably the best chemistry between a rhythm section of any band that I know.
Now here's the thing. Last night when I looked up Flea, I also looked up Geddy. Do you know how he got that name?
I don't know how he got it. I know it's not his real name.
Do you know, Ashley? Do you know how he got it?
No.
So his real name's Gary, and his grandmother couldn't say it. That's how she said it. Geddy Lee. That's how she used to say his name. So he that's how he got it. Yeah, I was like, that's hilarious. So,
also with Rush as a whole, but Geddy Lee kind of leading this. Listen to their interviews; they are freaking hilarious.
Yeah,
like if you go see them live, they play like these videos before the show or like in intermission times where it's like these just little. It's almost like Saturday Night Live skits that they're putting together.
You forgot something. Happy birthday, man. You keep slapping that bass.
He said slapping that bass.
Listen, Alex Lifeson did not make our Rushmore of guitarists, but is probably one of the most underrated musicians of all time. You know, obviously
he was there though. He was there.
If you're in the band with Geddy Lee and Neil Peart, it's kind of easy to get overshadowed. But anyway, so Geddy Lee is my George, my number one on my Rushmore. He's a Crushmore of bassists. So let's close this episode out like this. Ashley, what we all want to know, who is your number one? Who's your George on your Rushmore of bassists?
My George, my number one, goes back to the 50s and still touring now, would be Paul McCartney.
Come on.
Nice. I was wondering if he was going to make a showing.
Yeah, I mean, he goes, you know, he's made the way for a lot of bass players. And if you hear some of the stuff with that hollow body Hofner that he played with back in the 50s and the 60s, you know, I love the sound. I love that thunk sound. I mean, you know, different bass player, they have the different sounds, but I really love it. And he's another front guy. He sings a lot, you know, writes a lot. So I saw him when he came over here a few years ago, and it was just 3 hours of awesomeness.
Paul McCartney's great. I think this might be the first royalty that's actually made any Rushmore that we have. Sir Paul.
Sir Paul.
Yeah. But what's cool about, and I don't mean to cut you off if you were going to say this too, but Paul McCartney, he's got a signature bass. Like when
Yeah.
I see whatever, I think you mentioned what it's called, like that cut.
The Hofner, yeah, the violin bass, yeah.
Yeah, when you see that, you automatically think Paul McCartney, Beatles.
Yeah.
That's where you go. So that's cool. That's cool too. So wow,
That's-
Man, that's a great few lists. Hey, look, you know, I kind of like to go over some folks that I think maybe should have possibly made our list. Just some folks that I think were great. And look, McCartney was one of them that was on my list. John Paul Jones, man. I really
forgot about
struggled
him.
with putting him on. I really struggled, but I mean, like we've talked, Led Zeppelin, like the whole band could make the list. Justin Chancellor was on my almost. Yeah, he was there. Geddy Lee, Jaco
What about
Pastorius.
this? What about this one? My favorite name of all the bassists didn't make the list. Geezer Butler. Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Listen, when I
How
think
about-
of like, that's a very bass forward band too. That kind of underrated.
The older Black Sabbath.
You talk about great bass lines. The bass line from Pearl Jam and Jeremy.
Oh yeah.
Man, Jeff Ament. Dude, that right there almost made it just because of that.
Yeah.
And look, y'all talk about frontman. Just one more guy to throw out there. Frontman. And I got a few more, but one more guy. Sting, man.
Oh yeah.
Sting.
Yeah.
So just some good folks. But these are great mountains, man. Ashley, this is you kind of thought where I was thinking the same thing. I knew you were right about my age, so I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. We're gonna hit some.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Well, thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you being on today, Ashley. Thank you for joining the Rushmore community, being a part of this. Any final words? Anything else you got to say about bass or music or anything that you want to talk about?
No, there's a lot of good of it. There was a lot out there that's, didn't make the list. I know it's, what you prefer and what you like to hear and everything else, but there's a really lot of good bass players when you really go back to, especially the 70s, and, you hear bands like Boston or the Steve Miller Band or Queen or, some of those guys are just, they're phenomenal, So,
Soundgarden's bass band was almost there too.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Ashley,
thank you for coming, Ashley. It's great seeing you.
Yeah, you too.
And man, we loved having you on the show. For everybody out there, make sure you go and check us out. Like, share, subscribe, and do all those things. And don't forget, when we're building this band out, we're gonna announce later what our super band will be. All of our Georges. So make sure you continue to follow on with us and see what that looks like. So, man, Ashley, thanks for coming on, and
thank you for having
we'll
me.
see you soon.
Yes, sounds good.
anyway.
Rushmore community, man, we had a great time with Ashley doing week 3 of Music March, and we gave you 3 good mountains for our bassists. But man, because we are fans of music, and we have a lot of big opinions, some that you might agree with, some that you won't, because that's what we're going to bring in this time in our next segment. It's Coming In Hot Take.
Coming in hot.
So, man, Andy, we've been chatting and talking, and we talk a lot of music, and there's bands you like, and there's bands that I like. And oftentimes I'll throw something out there like a name of a band or something or a song, and you'll be like, ugh. And same with it, it goes both ways. But there are some common things out there in the world that people will either be on one side or the other. Very polarizing conversations. And that's what this segment's all about if you haven't been there and seen any of our pre-segments. But today we're going to do it slightly different. Usually we just give you one big hot take and talk about it. We're going to kind of throw at you a few different hot takes. So, Andy, what is your what's one of your hot takes that you got going on?
Man, I have so many hot takes when it comes to music, but I narrowed it down to 3 of them. I've mentioned this one before, I believe, on a previous episode, but picture yourself in this scenario. You found this brand new song that just speaks to you, and just maybe it just lyrically speaks to you, or you're just like, this song is so awesome, I need you to hear this. I always am like, I have to show this to somebody. I need somebody else to appreciate it as much as I do. So I kind of put this thought into it, and I'm like, let's say I get into the car, right? And usually it's with Courtney, right? I'm getting in the car. I'm like, Courtney, you got to hear this song. We put it on. We're ready. That riff, whatever intro comes in. And then we just start talking. And you're like, wait. I put this song on because I want you. Now that I don't want to talk to you, but I've like had this whole thing play on in my head that you're going to listen to it and be like, man, that's the greatest song ever.
But
right?
you know, this hot take that you have, I mean, it goes with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like with my wife, it's like, here, watch this YouTube video. Hey, look at this show. Hey, look at this commercial. Hey, look at that. You missed it. We drove by it already.
Yeah.
Like,
and it just, I think it's, you know, it's like then they turn the music down and they want, no. I want you to listen to the song. It's only going to take 3-4 minutes, whatever the length of the song is. And then, hey, let's talk about everything else you want to talk about. But just please put some importance on this song. So that's one of my hot takes. All
right, give me another one of your hot takes.
It bothers me so much when that happens. Okay, here's another hot take. I mentioned in the hobby episode that Courtney and I were big fans of going to concerts, and that was just kind of a big part of my life, being in bands and playing in concerts and stuff. But one of the biggest pet peeves that I have, and I don't even know if it's much of a hot take. I don't know many people that are just like, yes, please do this. When you go to a concert and all you see is this, like they're filming the concert, like you're Steven Spielberg with the best quality camera producing
what
this
if it's like this though?
Shot. Oh, and that's even worse with the lights and everything. Put it down. People at home didn't go to the concert. They don't want to watch the poor audio and video quality that you have on your phone of 15 seconds of the song. Nobody cares. Put it down. Be at the show. Enjoy it. Talk about it.
Hey, look. I'm just going to jump in and interrupt real quick. Just small hot take, not involving music necessarily, but my social media ain't for anybody else anyway. So I do it for me. So it's kind of like my catalog. So if I want to put it on there, it's for me to look at later, not for you.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't agree with that one necessarily.
Even if you don't intend that to happen, I don't need to see it. Film it on your phone and leave it in your phone. Don't put it on social media. Nobody freaking cares that you were at this.
I do.
Well, then, hey, then you're.
All right, so look, give me another one. Give me another one. I know
my final hot take, real quick. This just bothers me so much when, and I don't know if it's on the band's part or on the store's part. Okay, but when Walmart, or maybe it's not just Walmart, but some big
Target,
store, Target does this too, where it's like Target will have like an Aerosmith shirt or Metallica or Nirvana, right? Some of those bands that they sell these shirts. And you've got kids wearing this stuff. And look, it'd be one thing if the kid truly knew who this was. So it's really not a knock on the kid, but it's like, you're rocking a Nirvana shirt. Tell me a Nirvana song. Give me one song, right? Or you're Metallica. Who's the singer of Metallica? You can't tell me any of those things, right? Why are we wearing this? But I'm almost.
You know what's my favorite?
What?
When you know your type of genre of music is not even close to that.
Yeah. Like, it just boggles my mind. I think more so on the bands, because the band had to have some part in that. Like, obviously, you have to agree for licensing that your stuff can be sold at this store. It's like, bro, you know they don't know.
It's vintage.
It's vintage. And then that's the thing too. It's like the same shirt that's in somebody's uncle's closet from 1984's tour is now selling for $35 at Target. And this one is in the closet, and he spent, $15 on it forever ago, right?
There was blood, sweat, and tears from that concert on that shirt.
You don't know a Van Halen song. Don't wear it. Don't.
Yeah. So Brittany came in the other day, and she was rocking a shirt like that. And I'm trying to think of the name. Who it was? It might have been Led Zeppelin or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Where'd you get that? And she said, "Oh, it's McKenna's, where me and McKenna got it the other day or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
It just, it blows my. It's just crazy. Don't wear the shirt. Don't be that guy. If you don't know the band, don't wear the shirt. Don't do it.
How about wearing it to the concert?
Definitely don't be the guy who wears the shirt of the band he's going to see.
What is this? You're going to wear this to the show. You're going to wear the shirt of the band you're going to go see. Don't be that guy.
Don't do that. Don't do it.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. I am the guy that has to buy a shirt at every concert I go to, though.
No, I'm cool with that. If you're at the concert and you went there, I love the tour shirts because you don't get those shirts anywhere else. I'm all about that. But you were there and you invested in it and you were part of that. And we know that because you posted all the videos to your social media. Anyway,
So I'm kind of polarizing on, and I agree with a few of those. It's some are, yeah. I mean, some are. I'm like, yeah. There are a couple here that I know you don't agree with for sure,
Okay.
but I'm gonna give you my couple, my
Give me those.
my jump in. Number one, I'll paint the picture.
Paint it for me.
Especially if you get in a car with the next generation, if you will, like teenagers, anybody under the age of 28, maybe, right? And even some older than that. And I know there's outliers. But as soon as you get in the car, the music that has to be listening to was your Spotify playlist that you put together last night for the journey. And here's the thing. I honestly, we were listening to Spotify last night in the car, and there were some really great songs. It was a Spotify list that makes white people go crazy or something like that. And it was hilarious. It was a great list. It was a great list. But I am of the type that I really, really dig listening to the radio, right? I love the idea that I'm going to get a random song that I haven't thought about in a while, or I haven't heard in a while. Now, there are some stations that they have their own Spotify list that's on repeat. And that's when I changed the channel. There are about 4 or 5 different channels I listen to, but there are a lot of songs that I'm not going to think of that I can't go and put this list together that I want to be nostalgically jump in. And also, I get the commercials and all that. I mean, I don't really get all crazy about it, but I really love a good radio DJ, man. Especially if it's on like a hard rock and they're talking about concerts and whatever. I just really like that, man. So my first one, I know it's kind of polarized, especially today, because everything is about quick, and I want what I want to listen to and not wait for something else. But I love the radio. Number two, man, number two. Let me this one. This is one of my, this is a huge pet peeve of mine. When I am like just shopping in a store, or I'm sitting at my daughter's ball game, or I'm wherever I want to be, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, somebody comes in and they are just blaring their music on some kind of like little speaker box, and they're just getting it, and it's Bluetooth to your speaker. And it's like back in the day, we used to have the big boom boxes. They walk around, they got the little clip on their belt, and the thing is, you're listening to your music, but you are broadcasting it out to everybody, and it's almost like, look at me, I'm listening to music.
Here's
like you have to have theme music everywhere you go. You're walking to Walmart. You're grocery shopping. You don't need music on. First off, but even worse is when the music is absolutely terrible or offensive, right? And it's just, cursing or sex this or whatever. Like, I'm like, gosh, shut that off. It's horrible, right? So just the guy that feels he is so self-absorbed that he doesn't care about his surroundings, and you have to listen to what he wants to listen to, right?
Yeah, so I mentioned before I don't go to concerts that often anymore, but every time I go to a gas station, I feel like I'm at a concert, because it's like in the cars that come by, I'm like, there is no one wants to hear it.
I mean, back in the day, I used to rock my music and jam, and the old people would get mad, and now I feel like I'm that guy, just at a different level. But that's one of mine. Here's one that I don't know that it's necessarily a hot take, but it's just a really big opinion of mine. You brought up Encanto and Goofy Movie, and we talked about Tarzan and the TikTok. And if you haven't checked it out, go check out our TikTok. It's pretty booming. But you talked about soundtracks for movies. And I think there was a period of time, maybe mid-90s or so, where soundtracks just all of a sudden became obsolete. Some of my first CDs were soundtracks. The Crow, what a great soundtrack. Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop. These back in the 80s, the movie had some of the best music, and the music was very intentional. It wasn't just some random song. They got mainliners to sing these songs, and those soundtracks sold millions of copies. I think a good soundtrack has kind of left us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think so. Like the latest I remember, this is just kind of my teen years, was Freddy vs. Jason had a really good heavy metal soundtrack. Daredevil, the movie Daredevil.
Universal Soldier had a really awesome Megadeth one. I mean, like almost every 80s song had an 80s movie to go with it. Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, all those things. If you go back and look what it Say Anything with the, every one of them had, and some of those songs were iconic to the era, but they're attached to a movie. When I hear them, I automatically go, like I talked about it in my singers. My number 2 song that I wanted to put or my number 1 song, if you will, as my wedding song was Peter Cetera, Gloria Love from Karate Kid 2. And so it automatically brings me to the movie, but it brings me to the video. Wow. So anyways, that's a real quick one. But my last one, and this one's probably the most polarizing. This is probably going to get the most hate. There are a lot of bands that are a hot take, if you will. They are hated for, I think, most of the time, not good reason. Just because people don't like the sound, they don't like the way they put things together. And just throw a few names out: Nickelback, Creed, Limp Bizkit, U2. Some of those bands, I think, it's all subjective, and I think some of those bands are they're maybe not they're creatively talented as far as like best musicians ever, but many of those bands are just fun to listen to. I mean, like, just chill a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of those bands are really fun and really cool. And I don't think that we have to hate on Nickelback.
So yeah, I totally get that. There are bands that I would say as a whole I just don't like, but some of those mainstream ones that do get a lot of hate, I feel like, look, kind of combining 2 of your hot takes. If you think you hate Nickelback, go listen to the soundtrack. I believe it was Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man. And it's not necessarily Nickelback, but it's Chad Kroeger, Josie Scott, Hero. If you listen to Hero and don't get amped up, it's probably on that playlist that hypes white people up. But anyway, and they say that a hero can save us.
Look, I'm getting hyped up right now, and you're singing it.
Man, that song, it's on my bangers playlist. It is one of the original bangers for me, but yeah. So I like your hot takes. The one that I would say, bro, get that out of here, is the radio. Man, it's anyway, I don't want to listen to somebody else talk during the song. Like, it's this, it kind of combines my hatred for like having a song and being like, no, I just want to talk. No, shut up, and I just want to listen to the song. So that's why I love Spotify. That's why I love these playlists.
Well, I'll say this. I'm not so much a hater of the Spotify list as much as I do like the radio. And like, there's some people that are like, I don't want to listen to this because it's commercials or this or that or this or that. And then to me, there's a nostalgic feel of just getting on and just driving and whatever comes on, man. I love it. Yeah.
I got you. But get with the times, Kirk. That's all I'm saying. Well, hey, look, there's our hot takes.
Coming in hot.
Normally we only do one each. We did like 3 or 4 each. So we're certainly guaranteed to somebody to not agree with at least one of them and to get some fun comments on that.
So let me ask the audience, man. So hey guys, we gave some hot takes. Obviously, you're going to have some suggestions, but what is question of the day? What is a hot take on music that you particularly have? So something that's polarizing, something that you may or may not like, half the world might agree with you. So give us your hot take. And obviously, what's your Rushmore of bassists?
Hey, look, we got one more week of Music March coming up next week. We've got like a special guest that's going to be here. Very excited for that. We're going to talk about our top 4 drummers, and we're gonna close out with giving you what is our super band, what is our George of every instrument that we've talking about this month. So it's going to be a fun time. I'm very excited for it. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell that you get notified every time that we post new content. Just a reminder, every Monday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time is when we post our new videos. Look, we got March is wrapping up pretty soon. We got some pretty cool stuff we're going to talk about later in April. Very excited for that. So any final words, Kirk, what you got?
Yeah, if you haven't checked out our other 2 episodes, they're going to be right here, somewhere right in this area. Yeah, go check out Vocalists and Guitars, and you're starting to build your band, man. I thank you, as always, Rush community. You've been wonderful to us, and how we always finish it there, man.
This is the Rushmore Show. where it's all about your top four
And nothing more.
Peace.